Hi, welcome back to Smoking Cheltenham. How you doing? Hope you're well. Right, today we've got quite a bit to catch up on, so we're going on a ramble today. You're going to need your flask, maybe even two. It's been a bit of a change here at Smoking Cheltenham. I'm not smoking anymore. It's been 2 or 3 weeks now. So only thing is, I've got this puffer thing now. But yeah, it's not easy. It's been 30 odd years. It's a bit too late to save my teeth, like, but better late than never, I guess. Um, yeah, I had to have one of these just as a bit of a in between thing, I think, because it kind of went cold turkey. We're going down round Aldi. I thought we are going to pass out. I went right weird, like, Um, so I've got this puffer for now. But I won't get addicted to this the same. I know you still got the nicotine, haven't you, and all that, but it's like a fucking alcopop or something when all you want is a proper drink. Yeah, it's like you just want a proper rum or something, and you got this fucking alcopop thing, and you're just not getting the hit. Um, so yeah, but I can't change the name to just Cheltenham, kind of. So we'll keep it Smoking Cheltenham, I think. Yeah, what we're going to do today, yeah, we've got quite a big ramble then. I'm going to flag up a few performances that I thought, have been interesting, but maybe not for Cheltenham, just a few. Um, and then we'll look at the Cheltenham markets and, the horses that are like involved in the markets there. We'll chat a bit about their performances, like through the prism of that. Um, I've got a 16 to 1 ante-post bet for Cheltenham for you. Possibly another 10 to 1 shot as well, but I'm not sure about that one. I don't know. We'll have the ante-post roundup. Yeah, yeah, that's about it then. So just a few performances then. I mean, there's been loads. It's been too long to sort of. I'm not going to go in the depth that I used to go to. It'd be too much. You need more than you need 5 or 6 flasks, like with beer all day, like. Um, but just a few I wanted to mention. Going all the way back to the 4th of October. Yeah, Gowran Park, 2.5 mile beginners, tap on the go, beat Fleur in the park 6.5 lengths. He's a fine looking chasing type. He is, he jumped great here on fencing debut. Yeah, they got racing a fair way out here, and as such, he was entitled to get tired on his seasonal return, but he stayed on really well. And the way he came up at the last, considering all that, were fantastic. Like, we were big on him, weren't we, for Martin Pipe, and he ran a fine race there. He did. Feeling he may just be a little bit better than that. I think there's a feeling they maybe had to like squash one more run into him than would have been ideal, just to get him qualified for the race. And certainly the way he jumped here is going to be, a fair bit better over fences. We're rated 134 over hurdles. Be interesting to see if they try and exploit that mark over fences in handicaps, or if they go the graded route with him. But either way, I'd say he's one to keep on side. So that's tap on the go there. Very nearly put him in 10 to follow. There were a few I wish I'd have put him in for now, to be honest. Yeah. Fucking alcohol, mate. It's not the real thing. I'm not even sure if these are any better for you, to be honest. I mean, at least tobacco, it grows in ground, doesn't it? It's a natural thing. Like, I mean, you're still inhaling smoke into your lungs, but at least that's natural. This is, I don't know what this is like, it's just chemicals and shit, isn't it? But yeah, it'll do just for now. It's a stopgap anyway in between. Feel a bit. I found it harder to focus, like so my head's been a bit all over the place. But it's a long time, 30 odd years, isn't it? Anyhow, yeah, I don't know if it was that, and I don't know what, but I was kind of struggling, really, if I'm being honest, to get really motivated for this season. I think, we I set this up mainly with a view, to the ante-post betting at Cheltenham, and a lot of that's changed. It's got a lot more difficult now, so it kind of left me wondering. We've had a lot less bets, haven't we? But and with this stopping smoking and whatever, I don't know. But then Down Royal happened, and specifically Envoy Allen happened, and yeah, that warms the cockles a bit. Horses like him, 11 years old, Henry de Bromhead, 3 times festival winner, 10 Grade Ones. This meeting, 6 out of 7 at Down Royal. His one defeat here came. He just got chinned by Jerry Colomb, yeah, legend of a horse. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it, to see these guys coming back year in, year out, like. So I enjoyed that. That perked me up a bit. It did. And then this weekend it really got going, didn't it? I wrote this down and scribbled it out again, but I'll give him a quick mention. 2nd of November, Cork, it were yielding. 2 Mile Maiden, I'm Slippy. Yeah, he took that by 5 lengths. Jumped well, really, apart from 2 out. He made quite a bad mistake there. He won valuable Fairy House bumper, didn't he? The sales bumper there. And he showed a good attitude there. Robert Tyner's horse, I just mentioned, I'd imagine he may be Royal Bond bound. I haven't seen all that much like Willie and Gordon and the sort of big boys there you'd be sort of fearful of, so he might go there with a bit of a chance anyway. It looks a nice horse, but this weren't much of a race, so we'll see. But yeah, it could maybe, being Robert Tyner's, maybe it'd be a bit of value in that Royal Bond, I don't know. I think David Crockett were going there, weren't he? But he's not anymore. He'd been quite a strong fancy, I think, for that. But in his absence, maybe this fella, maybe he could be the one. I don't know. But we'll see closer to the time. But he'd be a contender there anyway. 6th November, Clonmel. This were a decent meeting, this decent card. This it was soft. 2 Mile Maiden. We saw scope to improve. Beat the man in the anorak. 5 lengths. Yeah, he's 5-year-old Henry de Bromhead, point-to-point winner. He caught me eye last season with a stylish success in an ace bumper. Went to Aintree. Disappointed there behind Green Splendour, beat a fair way. Very keen here he were, and he'll need to settle better. He's quite flashed, this horse, but he's going to be going up in grade now, and he will have to learn to race a bit more professionally than this. If he does, he does have scope to improve though. Yeah, I quite like him, but like I say, it's a bit to learn yet. We'll see. the mare's chase we'll mention later. 9th of November, nice, soft heavy. Yeah, Brown Lad listed handicap hurdle, and it saw the return of Gavin Cromwell's 7-year-old back to normal. Yeah, he's one of our heroes from last season, weren't he? Do you know, he's one of my favourite horses in training. He is. I'm glad he's come back well. He seems well anyway. I don't know. Hopefully, it's no lasting sort of damage from that injury. He seemed all right here. He were bang there, 2 out, and faded out of contention. Beat around 20 lengths or so in the end. But yeah, he took out that valuable 2 mile 5 handicap chase, didn't he, at the DRF. You know, Gavin's Percival Lagellois took that out, and he, well, no, sorry, he didn't take that out. Say this stopping smoking thing. Percival Lagellois were running a big race there, weren't he? And he came down at the last. You know, it'd been a clear second, and he went on to take the Paddy Power out, didn't he? Which was another good result for his last season. And you'd imagine that's the sort of race this guy could rock up there. You know, that he's up £13 from when he won last season, that race at the DRF. He's up to 143 now. But he just hacked around, didn't he, and won it in a canter. He could be graded class, you know. He could be a graded class 3 miler. Yeah, I like him. And if he runs in that Paddy Power, I'll have to have some on him. I know. I'll just well. Spillane's Tower win this. He were disappointing favourite, I guess. Ran a similar sort of race to Back to Normal. He's disappointed, hasn't he? You know, really likes the horse. Ran a blinder in the John Durkin, but he's disappointed since then. You know, he ran at King George, didn't he? And he ran poorly there. I don't know. He's a horse you'd have to see something from before getting involved, I think. Got a big question mark over him now. 2 mile beginners that were won impressively by Irish Panther. They were, you know, this race was stacked with handicap projects for the future, mainly green and gold ones. The exception to that would have been Jacob's Ladder, who ran a nice race. I think he won 3rd. Pure Steel, horse of Colin Murphy's. Gorabath, it's horse of Colin Murphy's. I can't pronounce that. And Raglan Road, the Colin Murphy horse. Colin Murphy, that did run nice. Yeah, so you've got 4 there: Jacob's Ladder, Pure Steel, the Colin Murphy horse, and Raglan Road. You know, they should all be interesting in the future over further in handicaps. They should all improve. You know, they want further than the 2 mile here. Air on the 12th, soft heavy places. 2.5 mile beginners, 6 mile bridge beat Derry Hassan Paddy just over 4 lengths. He's a big slab of a horse, isn't he, Derry Hassan Paddy? And he didn't even look like a racehorse, did he, in this? He just looked like some cart horse they dragged out at field or something. He didn't look fit here. He looked clumsy. It were poor. It were. Do you know what our ramblers? Because we put him. He's another one it tends to follow. Say we had a few disappointments there. A few done all right, but One of our ramblers mentioned the Ultima for him, and I was like, nah, he's too good for that, you know. Yeah, I'll take that back. He looks more an Ultima horse now, doesn't he? Disgraceful behaviourless. I don't think he's anywhere near ready for this. You'd have to see more from him, but he will improve a ton. Like, you know, he'll have to, but he will. And don't be surprised if he turns into a big Ultima horse. The stables got previous in that. They took it out this year, didn't they? Yeah, could be. Could be. They might have decided to just swerve final demand, like, you know. Right then. Yeah, quick mention to the Troy Town. Answer to Cave won that. Yeah, I've seen Blue for a bit. She wants to go out. Yeah, Answer to Cave won that. He's a horse I've had a lot of time for. He's long looked like he had a race like this in him. And yeah, this brilliant training performance by Terence O'Brien to have him like ready to win this first time up. It were. I didn't back him. I was all into Will the Wise. The one I tend to follow is really. He ran a fine race, to be fair. He came fourth. His first trying a big handicap like this. No real excuses. Apart from the fact Gavin's horses are just not running well, are they? I think he's 2 from 60 odd or something. Yeah, they're not. He's just not in form, his horses. So, you know, you can mark them up. Any of Gavin's horses, I think, in the last sort of few weeks, I think they're probably better to come from them. He stayed on well to the line. I did mention that 3 mile 6 handicap, novice handicap at the festival for him. He looks made for that sort of race. If there'll be one or two well handicapped for him on the day, I don't know, but he just looks like he'd run forever at the same sort of pace. He's got no change of gear at all. The 3-6 trip, I'd say, will suit him great. Like, you know, he could be a serious contender for that. Just bear with me. I'll just have to let Blue out a sec. She'll want to come back in a bit as well. She'll want to come back in. Can't leave door open for anymore. It's too cold. It's gone cold today. It has. Time to dig out your big jumpers. Where were we? Yeah. Will the Wise had. Yeah, he'd be top of the short list at the minute for that race. You know, a long way away. We'll see near at time. Monday at Navan, heavy soft places. The 2 mile 1 beginners won by Kopek. We'll chat about in a bit. Couple of horses to note from there. Lovely Hurling is a nice horse. He is. I mean, the last twice now he's run into Kopek and Final Demand. You know, he won't run into many horses like them. He's a nice horse and one to keep on side. Ballybow came 8th here, beat 32 lengths. Fine, that was fine. You know, he's one for 3 mile handicaps in the spring. You know, providing he handles the better ground, the better ground then. But he's going to make into a nice staying chase. So I think Ballybow, and that was fine. So that's all that. Just a few horses I wanted to mention there that probably won't really be covering in the sort of Cheltenham stuff. So now we'll come to the Cheltenham stuff. I'm hoping this is charged up enough. It won't have much charge. Well, 20%. Should be alright. So what I'll do, I've got no notes for this really, just go through odds checker and just tell you my sort of thoughts and everything as we stand, because we've had quite a bit has changed, hasn't it, since we last talked about it all. So start off with a Supreme. We've got a new favourite there, My Daddy Paddy. Skeletons, top price 8-1. He were impressive, weren't he? I like the horse. He's a nice horse to look at. Liked his jumping. Yeah, you couldn't fault him. Is he a better 8-1? Well, if you're on at the nice prices, great, you know. I can see him going there with a big chance. We're a long way out, aren't we? But there's not, you know, over here, there don't tend to be much, does there, you know? So it's entirely possible he'll get to Cheltenham unbeaten. It's not given, like, you know, Nicky could have something and, you know, there's other horses around, but, you know, it's not hard to imagine him getting there unbeaten. But even if he does get there unbeaten, right, Billy wants to go back in. Apologies, it should be good now. Right, even if he does get there unbeaten, what price is he going to go off that? Because I'd say Willie will have the favourite for the Supreme. He just will. So at best, this fella's going to be like second favourite, I'd say. As such, you're going to be looking at what, maybe 7-2. Sorry, when it goes dark, it's blue walking past the lighting. Okay. Yeah, even if he gets there unbeaten, I think you're going to be looking at sort of 7-2 on the day. So is he worth backing now at sort of top price 8-1? I don't think he is. It's not like he's going to go in odds on, is it? So for me, it's like, if you're on good, if you're on at nice prices, I won't be rushing in to take the 8s now. I think I'd just rather back him at 7-2 on the day if that's the horse I like, you know. Okay. But yeah, it was a nice performance. Was to mention in here, there were news on Davy Crockett. He met with a bit of a setback, didn't he? Willie was talking about the Moscow Flyer, so it looks like, you know, he should be okay for the spring. And if he's talking the Moscow Flyer, then, you know, that kind of tells you he thinks a bit of him. But you couldn't be backing him now, could you really? And apart from that, yeah, just the horses we mentioned before, like, you know, I've got no bet in this race yet, and I've got no firm opinion. Yeah, My Daddy Paddy, impressive. For me, not a bet at 8s now. Okay. Arkle. We've had a bit of movement in this market, haven't we, over the last few days. Right, we'll start with July Flower. She looked nice, didn't she? She did well at Cheltenham. Fine. Henry, and we know what Henry's like with these 2-milers. He's won this with a mare before. He was pointing her to the Arkle. She's got the track form now. Yeah, fine. Okay. And I do think she's a bit overpriced at 20s. I thought she'd be a bit shorter than that, to be fair. Yeah, rather more like 12s or 14s or something, you know. So I think there's a little bit of value in the 20s. Romeo Coolio, yeah, he came out at Down Royal, didn't he? He'll be going Drinmore next, I'd imagine. And yeah, he's always looked like a chaser, hasn't he? And you know, I think they missed quite a few fences out there, but he jumped well and he looks fine, you know. Probably more 2.5 mile you'd have thought. And to be honest, I think the same about Lalamba. Nice at Exeter. Is, you know, he's a nice horse, he is. Does he jump like a 2 miler? Not sure. He jumps fine, but he's a bit up and down, isn't he? I thought, you know. Well, it's Chase debut. He can get a bit slicker and quicker, I guess, but it makes a nice shape over the fence, but just not like a 2 miler. I remember Aintree last season, Nicky, he entered him for the 2.5 miler, didn't he? And he didn't run in the end at that meeting. Copet de Boards is a rocket. Is a rocket, this horse. He is. He's like a fiery ball of energy, you know. Takes a bit of riding. Is a bit mad. All the best ones are, aren't they? Jesus, you know, the raw pace and power of this horse. Pace and power. Wow. He's got no point experience or, like, you know, jumping experience back from France or anything, you know. He just came from bumpers. So my only worry with him was the jumping. It's like if he doesn't jump how he looks, if he doesn't jump like a 2 miler, then, you know, you've got to be fairly quick, haven't you? But I thought, yeah, he did fine. He landed on all fours a couple of times, I thought. But for Chase debut, I mean, when he asked him, he went, didn't he? He's just an exciting horse. I'm just giving you my views here, and some may disagree. I don't think Lou Lambert would see which way this guy goes, like if they both get to the Arkle. Okay. Yeah, I thought you were good. But they have to jump and everything, don't they? Things can happen, but I mean, he's beat most of these horses already. You know, he smashed most of these over hurdles. Lambert's coming a different route, isn't he, from the Triumph, but I think the Supreme were a better race than the Triumph, and I say I think the Lambert looks like he wants further. Top price 7-4 now. We're on at 5, so I think I might have said 6s in the last video. It's actually 5, so looks a nice bet. Yeah, he'll take some beating there, I think. Champion Hurdle then. We haven't really seen any of these yet, but of course the big news was Stateman's out for the season, and to be fair, he probably looked the bet at the prices, you'd have to say he did. Is Lossiemouth favourite for us? You know, I love Lossiemouth. I think she's my favourite horse. I'm not saying she's the best horse in training, but I think she's my favourite. Like, you know, I love her to bits. Is she going to get a big chance now? Maybe not. You know, maybe not. It probably depends on Amsterdam. Is Amsterdam going to get there though. I mean, he's missed the last two Cheltenhams, and he's got soundness issues. He's not an ante-post proposition for me. Although if you're on at like nice prices for this at double figures, you'll be feeling happy enough, and yeah, that's fair enough. But he has to get there, doesn't he? He's out in Morgiana, I'd expect, this weekend. I don't think Lossiemouth will go there. We'll chat a bit about it maybe later, but I'd say Iransi may be his biggest rival there. And Iransi would have a chance, I think, in that Morgiana. He's 2 from 2 at Punchestown. Has been impressive there. But we're talking about the champion hurdle, aren't we? We're going to see the fighting fifth soon, aren't we? The New Lion against Constitution Hill. Constitution Hill. This horse, Nicky, seems very happy. All the vibes are good. Blah de blah de blah. I still maintain the horse that won the Supreme, the Constitution Hill that won the Supreme, was the best 2 mile hurdle performance I've ever seen. It was just jaw dropping. That's the sort of ability this horse has got, and he's trained by genius. I wouldn't ever write him off. In a few weeks' time, we could be looking at an odds-on favourite here in Constitution Hill. But at the same time, he could be retired. So what do you do with that? For me, like last season, I couldn't touch him. I couldn't. But at the same time, I'm not saying he can't. They say class is permanent, don't they? It'd be something. It'd be up there with his greatest achievements, and Nicky, if he can get this horse to a champion hurdle and take it out. But I'm not saying he can't. Okay, but not for me. It's impossible Sergino could turn up for this, depending how things go. I've got no firm opinion of the race, just as she might well know that I've had a small bet on Lossiemouth at about 8-1 on Betfair, and I placed that in the full knowledge that she'll probably be turning up in the mares. I think I know Paul will he say Stateman's some way ahead of Lossiemouth, and you got to respect that, haven't you? You've got to respect that, you have. But for me, she's unbeaten at Cheltenham, and Stateman's not around anymore. I think on soft ground at Cheltenham, I think Lossiemouth could win a champion hurdle. I do. I'll die on that hill until I'm proved otherwise. What's she got to beat? The New Lion. Amsterdam's got to get there. And he's a bit leery at his hurdles, isn't he? He's not jumped like a champion hurdler yet. The New Lion kind of does jump like a champion hurdler, and but he's never even ran at 2 mile, has he? Let alone against horses like this. I think he'll be all right at it, but he's unproven, isn't he? In this sort of grade at the trip. Yeah, I'm happy with my small little bit on Lossiemouth, and maybe this season things will turn out for her. We'll see. I know he's mentioned think she's going to go Hatton's Grace, isn't she? I think, Willie, everything's fluid, isn't it, with Willie? But from what he's saying, it seems like Hatton's Grace, and then he mentioned Kempton, and I don't want to go to Kempton again. I thought she hated it last season there. Flat 2 mile on, decent ground. Don't think that's her bag, like a sharp 2 mile. I think, Cheltenham, big galloping track, soft ground. I think, yeah, that's a different kettle of fish, Her optimum probably is 2.5. It probably is, but I think, she's won Cheltenham 2 mile in the Triumph. She's won there. She won that race January sort of time, didn't she? 2 mile Cheltenham. Okay, not beat a lot, but I think granted soft ground at Cheltenham, that stiff hill, I think she's all right, We'll see. So I've got no strong opinion really. I think at the prices Amsterdam's, I couldn't trust him to get there at, like, when you're looking at 6-1 top price. Constitution Hill, I couldn't trust him to get there either. And the new line looks good, but maybe Lossiemouth's better. Can he give Lossiemouth £7? I'd be with Lossie. Right then, that's the Tuesday. Wednesday, Turner's no drama this end favourite. No, in fact he's not favourite anymore, and it's Johnny Dineen's fault. It is. If you're watching me, you probably watch up the ante, don't you? Up in the ante. And I watched it yesterday, and this horse I was going to put up today. And I was watching that, and I was thinking, the two horses I was going to put up today, this were one of them. I was just thinking, don't say any of these two horses. And he said this one, didn't he? And it's ridiculous. They were 14s about, you can't beat 10s now. And I don't know if I want to put him up at 10s. It's Dr. Manil. He won with a cork bumper. He won. Impressive they were 2 mile 3, weren't it? The reason I was going to put him up, most of the chat really has been about this horse, out of all the novice hurdlers for the Supreme and this, a bit of chat about My Daddy Paddy, weren't they, and for the Supreme, and Dr. Manil for this. But the thing really that kind of swayed me, and I did have a little bit on it, but only a little bit, literally 1 point is all I've got on it, but a better price than 10s. And the reason I put that on was solely because Willie Mullins' stable tour, which was the other day in the Racing Post, and he gave 2 horses for the season. One of them was this. He said he had a soft spot for this guy, and he actually nominated Turners for him. Now, Willie says a lot, doesn't he? But to be fair to him, in these these stable tours pre-season, he's often been pretty straight, about when he's asked for a horse to follow. It were 2-3 years ago, he gave Factor File and Masborough, both won at Cheltenham, and they were both like 20-1 plus at the time. I think going back a few years, I remember he gave Gallopin in the Racing Post as one to follow, and he took out the Martin Pipe that season, and look at him now, So there's that, and there's also the fact that I can't think of many years where he hasn't took out one of these novice hurdles at Cheltenham, and they're generally my most confident bet of the festival. I think Willie's good novice tends to be the one, like, and you're looking. The upside of catching the right horse of Willie's in one of these two novices, either Supreme or Turners, is massive. Like, you look at Ballyburn, like, you can be looking at an odds on shot in this race for Willie. So if you catch the right one, you're looking at a double figure price now that has got the potential to go there odds on. It's a punt, don't get me wrong, it's a punt, isn't it? We haven't seen him over hurdles, and Willie's got like 200 horses, It's a punt, but it's a punt that, if you get it right, like I say, you could be looking at an odds on shot that you sat there for double figures. I know we backed Ballyburn, didn't we, for the Turners at eights? It was what, 1-3 or something, weren't he, on the day? So that's, the reward if you're right is big. But what they've done to the price is just has thrown me, and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know, because I only had 1 point on him, and I don't really want to put like 2 points on him. Not really, but then 1 point's only getting 11 points, so I don't know. But I think we're going to leave it. I think. But I have had a little bit on him, but just a small bit, like, No drama this end. You're having a laugh? No, just no. He could be a nice contender for the Browns next season, I'd say. I think he's a 3 mile chaser down the line. So no, not for this. You need a bit of pace for this. Right. Browns. Yeah, we did alright here so far. Final demands, top price 6-4. Now, Kopech takes a bit of riding. I'd say this fella, I could ride him. You could stick me on him and, he'd be fine. He's just an armchair riding. He jumped how he looked like he'd jump, just is just a fantastic beast, this horse. He is. 3 mile, when he goes 3 mile, I think he's going to improve plenty as well. He won't go 3 mile till Cheltenham. These two big novices are Willie's. I think the programme kind of maps itself, really. Kopech will be going to the Irish Arkle, which Willie has got reinstated. That'll be at Leopardstown at Christmas. And then he'll go to the DRF and then on to the Arkle, or being well. This fella, he'll be going to the Faheen at Limerick, a track he won at last Christmas. And they've upped the distance of that this year. I think it's 2.5 maybe now, or 2.6. It's either 2.5 or 2.6. That'll be fine for him. You just, yeah. And then he'll go on to what used to be the Moriarty, the 2.5 race at the DRF. And the only fly in the ointment there, I think, I mentioned before, the only horse I think has got the ability to beat this fella as a novice over fences is Brighter Days Ahead. Look what she did at 2 mile last season at Leopardstown. But we haven't seen her jump a fence yet. She's had a comeback sort of postponed a little. I don't know until we see her jump. I don't know what the crack is with her jumping, because she was supposed to go chasing last year, weren't she? With Stateman coming out, you just think, are they missing a trick here with Brighter Days Ahead? Because, the Morgiana this weekend should be favourite, wouldn't she? The Irish champion hurdle, it's all there for him. I don't know about the Cheltenham, but fair play to him. I mean, you know, he could be dreaming of Gold Cups or whatever for her, and yeah. But yeah, if she takes well to fences and you know she races against Final Demand, or maybe she'll go more the Arkle route, like you know, should be a big rival to either Kopek or Final Demand. You know, she rated one in the 160s anyway over hurdles, you know, and they've got to give her £7. So you have to respect that. But we haven't seen her over a fence yet. The likelihood is Final Demand's going to get the Cheltenham unbeaten, and he's going to be like a 1 to 3 shot, you know. There'll probably be 6 or 7 horses in there, and you know, I think he's a Gold Cup horse. So we'll probably get on him this year for the Gold Cup, although the prices will be. In fact, they even mentioned it, didn't they, on the thing yesterday? 7-1. I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me, you know. It's getting worse, isn't it? It is. Oh, stunning horse, though, he is. He is some horse. I guess when you get to this sort of price, you've got to try and sort of pick holes. And you would say, he got beat there last year, as I mentioned before. You know, I don't think like Gold Cup horses for me don't win that Turners. I think you need a bit more boot for that race. So it don't bother me really that he got beat there, but still he's not got winning Cheltenham form. I guess you'd like to see him maybe get a bit outpaced and stay on rather than be there and drop back a bit. And he's a big unit of a horse, he is. Although he doesn't really look like it so much this year, which is nice because that just means everything's perfectly in proportion, like, you know, which is a sign of really top class horse, like when they're big and they don't look quite so big. But he is a big unit. I mean, you sort of see when you see him head on, like the depth of the horse, you know. Wow, he's something to behold. But them horses on that track on the Browns, you know, it's a bit tight and twisty. They can sometimes struggle there. Monkfish struggled around there, you know, he was a huge horse, weren't he? Monkfish, he struggled around that track. He did win, but he didn't win impressive. And he was never the same after that. I think poor Nolan's horse, he dodged him, didn't he? If he'd have took him on again that day, I think he'd have got his revenge. I think he went Irish national. You know, Don Cossack, another big proper, you know, I love these horses, these big strapping 3-milers, but he struggled, he came down, you know, didn't handle the downhill, came down there, but then he come back and won a Gold Cup, you know. He'll be better on the Gold Cup track, this fella, he will, and that'd just be your only little doubt, just that he's a big horse, and sometimes them big horses can struggle around that track on a Wednesday. But he's some beast, he is. And of course, if you backed him ante-post, he can lay a bit off at 1 to 3 on daylight if that's how the season goes, if that's what happens. But yeah, that were nice to see. And Paul were just beaming, weren't he? I've never seen a jockey smiling so much up the running, like, you know. Champion Chase, Sergino's still there as the favourite. I've seen too many of these horses. Oh, we've seen a few actually, yeah, to be fair. Yeah, same what I said before. I couldn't be backing Sergino. I don't really want to take him on. I think the Desert Hawk would have mentioned to him at Christmas, and you'd like to see him turn up for that. If he misses that and he just goes to like the Game Spirit, my gut instinct is to take him on. I just don't know if we're going to see him this season, and if we do, I don't know if he's going to be the same horse. But what do you take him on with? Marine National, I wouldn't like to back him ante-post. He's top price fours, but he's the sort of horse, if you got there on the day and it came up soft heavy, I wouldn't fancy it, you know. So I wouldn't like to back a horse that I think is a little ground dependent ante-post like that at that sort of price. Masborough, do you know, I looked at 8-1 for him for a good while and ummed and ahed and ummed and ahed, and then I looked the other day and he weren't 8-1 anymore. No, he's fives now. But again, I think he'd ideally want some dig in the ground, you know. If he came up nearly good, I don't think that'd be great for him. The thing I was thinking with Masborough is he's got such an engine on him, and I think Willie said something in one of them stable tours about maybe changing tactics on him slightly. I think they're going to be even more aggressive on this horse, and you just know that he stays really well. He'd get 2.5 stood on his head like this horse, but he's got that pace. And if you give an horse like Masborough, you know, if he gets 5, 6, 7 lengths on a field, how do you beat a horse like that? You know, they're not going to get to him, are they? But he's got to jump, and we've seen these horses, haven't we, in champion chase. If you don't jump, you don't win. And up to now, on what we've seen of him, he don't jump well enough. They may well sort that out, but until we see it, we don't know, do we? But I did think the 8-1 were tempting. That said, like, you know, fives, no. So no firm opinion in that race either. The Nichols horse, which I thought might have a chance, and I did half think about putting it up. Now that got well beat, didn't it, in the Holden Gold Cup? That were disappointing. The bumper, if you want a bet in the bumper, I ain't had a bet or anything, but I would say 2 names to conjure with, just on, you know, bits of sort of seen and read and heard. It would be Cheltenham for Willie. Won a Punchestown point to point. I think he's keeping him to bumpers. It's Willie, Cheltenham, 20s, and I think Gordon's got a good one this year, and that would be Grange Clare Park. So they're your 2 sort of go-to trainers, aren't they, Willie and Gordon? And he's 20's best price. Certainly with Unibet. Not many bookies have priced this up, really. Oh no, you can get 25s Grange Clare Park at Paddy's and Sky Bet. But we are like trying to pluck one out of the air there, aren't we? But they'd be, you know, I've not had a bet in the race yet. But they're the right 2 trainers. Oldham and Grange Clare Park. Thursday. Mares Novice Hurdle. Yeah. You know, Bambino Fever. She'd look the one, wouldn't she, if she goes that way. But not really better the price. She could go Turners. She could go, I don't know. We'll just kind of skip through that race. Mares Hurdle's now on a Thursday. Why? Why have they done that? The Tuesday were awesome, weren't it? It were, and we haven't got the Grade 2 4 miler anymore, and we haven't got the Grade 1 Mares Hurdle anymore. Instead, we've got two fucking handicaps, haven't we, on first day now? So that first day, it was fantastic. That first day, it's just not the same now, is it? But there you go, progress. Mares Hurdle. Hey, Lozzie Mouth comes here, she wins, doesn't she? And if she don't, something else does. Genius. That something else could be Woodoo. She's 4-1 top price by the looks of it. But as I mentioned before, she could be ground dependent. I wouldn't be sure of it if it came up like soft heavy. So that sort of price, no, not for me, ante-post. Jade DeGrugy, yeah, if she comes here, he doesn't know if he's going chasing yet, does he, with Jade DeGrugy or Cargeese? I don't know. He's on about one of them going chasing and one not. And I mean, Thursday's a stiffer track. He might gain Cargeese half a chance on Tuesday, you know. But it's very different, the two tracks. It's much more of a stamina test the Thursday, which would be all against Cargeese. So it depends if he wants to aim Jade DeGrugy at a mare's chase or Cargeese at an Arkle, I'd suggest. Jade DeGrugy could go for the Spindle Blue race last year, couldn't she? The 2.5 at Fairy House. She's won Grade 1 at Fairy House before. She could go there instead. But they both got good Cheltenham form, so I don't know. It's Willie Mullins been going, and this is what makes the ante-post so hard. Like, you know, we've talked about this. This is why our bets are much reduced this year. It's a no-bet race anyway for me at the minute, this Mares Hurdle, it is. And the Stayers Hurdle, right, this is where our bet comes in. Need a wee, I'm going to pause you. Hold on. Right, I'm back. So, hopefully that was fairly seamless for you. Yeah, right, Stayers Hurdle. Jasmine DeVoe, I did have a bit on Jasmine DeVoe at 14s. He's out for the season. I really like Jasmine DeVoe. In fact, if you watch me for a while, you'll know I tend to have that life-changing bet, don't I? You know, the one to pay the mortgage off, like a year in advance. Didn't do it this year, and the reason being, you know, I always do it, but this is what I mean with the ante-post. It got so hard, I couldn't even find 5 horses, you know. I always picked 4 or 5, and I'd got, depending on prices, like if the nice prices, you can go with 4. If, you know, the prices are a bit short, the more single figures, then you kind of need the 5th, like, you know, to make it massive for small stakes. Because you don't want to go lumping on, do you? I mean, it's a bit of a mad thing to try and do. This year, I had 4. I had Copet de Boards, Final Demand, Factor File, and I Know the Way You're Thinking. But obviously, they're all single figures. I think at the time, Copec were like 5s. Final Demand was 7-2. I think Factor File was 7-2, and I Know the Way You're Thinking were maybe 5s or 9-2 or something. So it was like, I need one more, and the one more, I was coming round to Jasmine DeVoe, and it was going to be Jasmine DeVoe, and I was just waiting, and I'm glad I did wait, I was just waiting to know he was staying over hurdles. But and I think he were, but I weren't sure, so I held off, and I'm glad I did, because it saved us some money there, because he's out for the season. And in the meantime, while we're holding off, the prices on the others just kept shorter and shorter, and now they've got really short, haven't they? So I haven't even got that sort of bet this year. The 4 horses I mentioned there, they're my main ones for Cheltenham, although I ain't got anything on Factor File on its own. You know, maybe a mistake, maybe back that, I think it were 4s actually, and I weren't sure, and I left it, and maybe we should have been on that, I don't know. But yeah, Final Demand when like biggest bet. I've had a decent bet on Kopek, and I know the way you're thinking. I've had a bit on that. I'm going to top up on that. I'm sure he'll get beaten, that John Durkin. I'm sure, I think we'll get a bigger price than it is at the minute. So, but I've backed them, and I've had a few doubles with them horses and a Trixie, like sort of mixing them ones up a bit. But yeah, that when before Kopek and Final Demand, they've just gone short now, haven't they? But they're the ones I like. Anyhow, right. Jasmine's not in this anymore. The other horse I had a little bit on was the Yellow Clay at 16, so I just got a small bit on that. Came out in the Liz Mullen, didn't he? And he got beat, and he's gone back out to 16s now. Yeah, he's 16s now generally. Now, yeah, he got beat 2 3/4 by Colonel Mustard. Never really looked to be really travelling well. I think Jack said that actually, we're never travelling, But on the face of it here, he's a 156 horse. Colonel Mustard's 146. He was giving that horse £6. So basically, he's underperformed by £4 and nearly 3 lengths. But he was giving race fitness away here. I think he chased an overly strong pace in the conditions. I'd say with the benefit of this run, he'd reverse that form. I think he's probably good for his marker 156. Now, Teapot, who sets a standard here, his stablemate, is rated 162. So on paper, he's got like £6 to find. He's not done 3 mile yet, and the way, they all finished knackered here, didn't they? They did. They went too quick, and that would be a little worry. It would. I don't like it when the horses have like a hard race first time out, so that's a little negative there. You'd hope he'd give him a bit of time now, to get over that run. But I think he's a tough sort of horse, and you saw that, I think, with the way he stayed on after the last. I do think this horse, and we thought it last season, would improve for 3 mile. He could find that £6 improvement. He's 6 turning 7, so just with natural progression, He's a second season novice, isn't he? I think 7's okay for Stayers Hurdle. I don't think you want to be too much younger than that, but 7-year-old's fine. And he's had a few seasons racing. He seems quite a tough sort of hardy horse to me. You don't want them horses that travel like the wrath of God in a Stayers, he's a bit behind the bridle, and you don't mind that in a Stayers, big bucks, blah blah blah, I like him for the Stayers, and I thought pushing him out to 16s, I don't think this was a terrible run. I thought that was a bit of an overreaction. I've got a little bit on him, and I don't mind putting him up here, I think. So we're going to have 2 points on him at 16s. Yeah, the negatives would be he has had a tough race here. And that can leave a mark first time out. like think Grey Dawning last season, just did him for the year. It weren't quite that brutal this, but it weren't ideal either. But like I say, I think he's like a tougher horse than Grey Dawning. I think I think he'll be all right. Just give him a little bit of time. Ideally, you'd like to see him at Christmas at 3 Mile, up to 3 Mile, wouldn't you, at Leopardstown? And, you could maybe bump into Ballyburn there, but I'm not sure what they're doing with Teapot. Maybe they've got that penciled in for him. And that's the other kind of negative, really, that, Teapot is there and it's the same stable. Is there a chance this fella just skips Cheltenham altogether and maybe goes, for the Grade 1 at Aintree 2.5? It's just a slight chance, isn't there? But, the way he ran at Cheltenham last year, I mean, he split the New Lion and Final Demand. That were massive run, that. I mean, he showed there, that were be some way his best run of the season, I'd say. So you get a horse that really likes Cheltenham like that, and you'd think they should go, I mean, if Jack's going to be on this fellow or Teapot, I don't know. We'll see how the season goes. They've both got to get there, haven't they, fit and well. But I think at 16s, yeah, I mean, I love that run he's got there in the book, the track form in the book. That's a great run. I think he'll improve for 3 Mile. I think 16s is all right, I do. So, got 2 points on him at 16s, okay. Yeah. So that's the stayers. Yeah, Teapot he's been there, he's run third in it, won it, and come second in it. He sets a good standard there. The first year he ran in it, he was only 6, I think, weren't he? He was quite young for the race. Didn't get the greatest ride there either that day. Should have probably done a bit better. Then he came out and won it. And last year, they just dawdled around on the decent ground, and he just played into Bob Ollinger's hands. Softer ground, a bit more of a stamina test. Would have suited him better. He sets a good standard, and he does, but he's not unbeatable. I don't think. He's not like a big bucks. Ballyburn, top price 5s. Not for me. He's just like he's too keen. I'd have to see him settle over the trip, but he doesn't race like a stayer's hurdle horse. To be fair, neither does Bob Ollinger, and he reminds me a little bit of Bob Ollinger. They both won that turn as well. Both looked like they had the world at their feet. Neither of them took to chasing great. Came back to hurdles. I think they're both probably best at 2.5, even though Bob Ollinger won this. It was just the way the race panned out on the day. I think, they just crawled around on the decent ground and it turned into a sprint over the last 2 that played to his hands. If it pans out like that and Paul can keep a lid on Ballyburn, then yeah, I mean, he could do it. He could do it, but for me, no. At 5s, I'd rather back the Yellow Clay at 16s. I would. I think he's a fair bet at that. Yeah, so that's that. Okay. Right, Fat to Fowls, top price 5 to 2 now. Most likely running this, and he'll probably win it, to be honest. Madgeborough's probably going Champion Chase. Gaelic Warrior. I think should probably come here. If he wins the King George, he'll possibly go Gold Cup. I think Willie would rather not go to Cheltenham at all and just go to Aintree again. Aintree used to be nice for some of the English trainers like Paul. They used to dodge Cheltenham, didn't they, and go to Aintree where it were a little bit easier. Maybe not so much anymore the way Willie's talking. I think he's taken a liking to Aintree, and horses that have done well for him there in the past, like Gaelic Warrior, Salvatore Monday, Impera Pass, you could see some of these big, proper kind of Grade 1 horses skip Cheltenham altogether and go to Aintree, you know. Gaelic Warrior, I'm not going to try and predict where he's going to turn up, but should be a cracking race this weekend. Might tell us a little more. My gut feeling says Factor File's the best 2.5 miler out there. Is he a bit at 5 to 2? Don't know. Not for me just at the minute. Try and Firdle, I'll just get a mention to Bob. Bob is on top price 16s. I think he'd be top of the list so far. Very early stages, isn't it? But I thought he was impressive at the weekend. Yeah, Willie's got loads we haven't seen, but he'd be clubhouse leader just at the minute, I'd say. Barbie's on. I thought that was a nice performance. Mares Chase, wow, okay. Dino Blue ran the other day. Yeah. She's going to be 9. I think she's 8 now. I think she'll be 9. Don't go on forever, these mares. That was just something I'd not seen her do before. Well, not for a few seasons anyway, you know, putting a couple of jumps like that. She made a few bad mistakes, didn't she? You know, I mean, she ran a fine race considering, but I'd just put a little bit of doubt in my mind about her, you know. Bright days ahead. Not for me at Cheltenham, and she could rock up in an Arkle, you know, if she does do well. Or even a Browns. Spindlebury, you know, I want to talk about this horse. I love Spindlebury. I loved her performance. Clonmel, weren't it? Won that Clonmel card. I thought she was really impressive there. I just loved. I remember first time up last season, she looked a little top for toe at stages of the race. She travelled everywhere this time. I think she's improved again. I do. I liked her for it last year. I really like this horse. I do. I love Spindlebury. The only two things, we're still not seeing her go left-handed. You'd just like to see her go left-handed before backing her. And the owner did mention the Gold Cup. I'd be interested, to be honest. I would. Yeah, she hits the line well. She could improve plenty for 3 miles. So, yeah, I like her a lot. But I do want to see her run left-handed. I'm very close to putting her up, though. I am, because I just love the horse. Only by night. Yeah, just got the better of Champ Keeley at 2 mile, I think. And Gavin's horses haven't been running well. I'm still not sure. I want to see her up in trip anyway, and then I'd make a judgment call about her. You know, Gavin says 2.5 should be fine, and you know, he knows best, doesn't he? So, but you'd like to see it with your own eyes first, and I do think you need to stay a bit further than 2.5 in that mare's chase. You know, it takes a bit of getting up that hill after the last on that course. So, you know, that should suit Spindlebury beautifully, like, as long as she's fine going that way round. Diva Luna was impressive the other day. She's panic attacks in this. Yeah, she's a mare, isn't she? Paddy Power winner. Yeah, I've not really thought about that, but yeah. July Flower, I think, will go Arkle. Big Westerners here. This could be a cracking race this year. It could, because it wants to be, because it was fucking terrible last year, weren't it? It was disgusting. It was the worst race I've ever seen run at a Cheltenham festival last year. I wouldn't be upset if they got rid of these mares races. I wouldn't, but this could be a cracker this year. It could be. So we'll see. If I were going to have a bet now, it would be Spindlebury. It would. I just love that horse. The Albert Bartlett, yeah, I put he can't dance. God, that was bad, weren't it? I was really disappointed in that horse. You know, he'd have been my idea for this one. Yeah, apologies for that horse. They ran bad. They were a clubhouse leader in this for me, and I was a little bit surprised at his prices. Another one of Gordon's. He's had a few out, hasn't he, that would be like these sort of types for this in the last week or so. But the one that I thought would maybe be his one is Calypso's Chance, and that is 33-1 in places. Yeah, you know, got turned over at 1-5 with it at Down Royal, came out 2.5 at the weekend, grade 3 or something. Yeah, and I'm just quite impressed with the horse. Looked a little yellow clayy. Do you know when, like, the yellow clay won races round Navan last season? I wonder if it'll go. Is it the Navan Novice Hurdle, that grade 2? Is it where Gordon tends to run his Albert Bartlett horse in that race? And he's got a few here, hasn't he? Others that have just come out just of late. Classical Creek came out and won nice. He's got loud horses, hasn't he? You know, but yeah, Classical Creek came out and won nice. The Flying King, but not quite sure about him. Yeah, probably Classical Creek. I thought there was another one as well. He'd be a likely type for him. Very early stages, but if I were going to recommend a bet just at the minute, it would be that Calypso Chance at 33s. But yeah, I think should looked a strong stayer the other day, and could run in that race that Gordon runs his sort of Albert Bartlett horses in. And then lastly, I said it'd be a long one, didn't I? Now and 20 now. Gold Cup, yeah, it was going to see. I know the way you're thinking this weekend. Galloping met a little setback, didn't he? Missing the John Durkin. We'll see him at Christmas, maybe at Leopardstown, but maybe at Tremor. I'm not sure Willie would like. Would you want to run Galloping first time up in the Savills at Christmas? I've got a feeling he may go for the Tremor race, you know, that he used to send album photo in. It'd be a nice start to the season for him, and then he could get him kind of bang on for the Irish Gold Cup, and he'd be going for his fourth, I think. It's got a little bit more prestige to it, hasn't it, the Irish Gold Cup, than the Savills Christmas. That could be his big day this year. I mean, you know, I'm not saying he can't win a Gold Cup, the Cheltenham Gold Cup, but the roof will come off the stands if Galloping gets that, I think, fourth Irish Gold Cup. That'd be some achievement. I can see him going to Tremor. I can. We'll see. I'm hoping, and I think he will. I know the way you're thinking. He got beat 30 odd lengths last season, came last in the John Durkin. Gavin's horses aren't running great. I don't know if he'll run much better this season in it. I know Gavin were talking him up a bit today in the Racing Post. I think he'll get well enough beat this weekend, and then, you know, top price 7-2 at the minute. I think you may get double that after the weekend, and I'll be interested. So look out for a video next week. You know, I'm not too fussed how badly he runs this weekend. The worse he runs, the better for me, I think. And if Galloping's not there at Christmas, yeah, he may. I think he'll build him up like he did last season. I don't think you'll see the best of him till the Gold Cup again. But if Galloping's not around at Christmas, maybe he'd be taking out the Savills. I don't know. But, you know, if he don't win, as long as he runs a nice race in the Irish Gold Cup, you know, and a decent race in the Savills, you want to see him in the first sort of four in both, and particularly the Irish Gold Cup. If he runs a nice second to Galloping, you know, beat 5 or 6 lengths in that Irish Gold Cup, I'd be liking him for the Gold Cup hold. So I think he's the one I like still, but I do think you'll be getting a bigger price on him next week. So I'd be holding off just at the moment. Hopefully he'll come out and win it now, won't he? He'll come out and win it and go 6-4. You have these plans, don't you? And they always go wrong. Galloping, absolute legend. Not for me at 10, but I'm not telling anyone he can't do it. And if he did do it, I'd be cheering him home. I would, unless he's done me at $500,000 or something. But I'd be cheering him home. I'd love to see it, but not for me at 10. I just can't do it. Factifile, I just don't think he stays. I think we saw that last season. You know, Will is some wizard, but if he gets his horse to stay a Gold Cup trip, then yeah. Gaelic Warrior, I did have a small bit on this guy at a silly price after Aintree. Don't know if he'll turn up here. I don't know if he really wants 3, 2.5 at Cheltenham, but who knows with that horse. Haiti Colours, I love this horse. You know, God, I think this horse has improved again. I do. Yeah. And the Oracle's working out well. Django Bay is a nice horse. I like Django Bay. Probably more Ryanair, but you wouldn't know. So I know the way you're thinking, but I think you get a better price next week. So yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all of that. We've chatted about all of that. Ante-post roundup then. Yeah, we'll leave that Dr. Dunmanil. Cheers, Johnny Deneen. He's good value, isn't he? I do like watching him, but I wish he hadn't opened his mouth. But I've got a small bit on him, but only a small bit, literally just a point, But what we have had then, we've got 5 points on Kopek de Boards at 5-1 for the Arkle. He's, I think, top price 2-1. We've got 5 points on Final Demand at 6-1 for the Browns. I think he's like 6-4 now. And we've just had 2 points on the Yellow Clay at 16s for the Stayers. We got 2 points in the bin, so that's 14 points on in total. Yeah, I don't mind this approach. He's looking all right at the moment. We got some good racing this weekend. I ain't got any like hard and fast selections for you in the Morgiana. If Amsterdam and Iranzi turn up, and I think they're betting 10-11 and 4-1, presuming Losimouth's not there, I'd be a little bit tempted with Iranzi. 2 from 2 at the track. They're actually rated the same. I mean, Amsterdam, I did have a bit on him last year for the Champion Hurdle. Could be anything. There's some engine in there. There is. Probably the winner. But he's a bit leery, isn't he? Iranzi. Funny, he probably flattered, weren't he, in that Punchestown race? He were, but I think he's unbeaten by that, is he? And he were well backed in the Supreme. Didn't handle the track according to connections, so bear that in mind. With regards to Cheltenham, but I don't know. I've got no firm opinions yet, but yeah, I wouldn't underestimate Iranzi anyway. The Betfair Chase. Grey Dawning, probably better ground than last year, probably win. I mean, Dan's flying and he'll have him drilled to the eyeballs for this. Love Haiti Colours. Wrong race for me. I just looking, good judge, I know. Mentioned a horse in the Hennessy, Blizzard of Oz for Willies, and I was looking at him and I was like, yeah, I can see this. I think he's rated 151. Haiti Colours was, I think, 152 or 154. I was thinking, Haiti Colours has got to give this horse just a couple of pound, and I think it's a better horse. Genuinely could make up into a genuine Gold Cup contender. This horse, it just jumps, gallops. He's this lovely horse. Made for Hennessy. I don't think he'll like Haydock. I just don't. I think take the world of beating in a Hennessy, even with top weight. It'd be nice to see a horse that classy in a Hennessy, and I think he'd win it. It would. Remember the Trebolgan winning at Hennessy. I think he's, in that sort of class. Of course, Denman won in Hennessy. It'd be nice to see a proper horse in the Hennessy like that, and I think he'd take it out. Round Haydock, he's like a Newbury Cheltenham fairy house, big galloping tracks, and wrong race, I think, but I think that's where they're going. But I do like the horse. Maybe it'll prove me wrong there. John Durkin looks a cracker, doesn't it? Factor File, Gaelic Warrior, fast or slow, first 3 in the market, and you can see why. I know the way you're thinking. 2.5 mile round Punchestown, surely not. I think he'll be well enough beat. Factor File. It's pretty short for this, but I think he's the best 2.5 mile horse in training, and I'm quite guilty of complicating races sometimes. He's the best horse in the race. He'll probably win. you couldn't be absolutely dogmatic that he's the best 2.5 miler in the race when Gaelic Warrior's there. He's the most Gaelic Warrior, isn't he? I just think Factifar's a shade better. But Factifar's probably been prepared more for Cheltenham, whereas Gaelic Warrior could be. It sounds like he's been peaked for a King George. So Gaelic Warrior could be more forward than Factifile, I'd suggest. So that makes it close. That makes it really close because there's probably not all that much between them anyway. And then you've got Faster Slow, you know, who's big. Galloping a couple of times in this race, loves it round here. I backed him in this last year, all over him from the King George. Thought he was disappointing in this, but as it turned out, I think he picked up an injury in the race, didn't he? So, you know, you can rate him better than that. It looks a cracking race. I haven't got a firm opinion. I've got no bet in it. But yeah, we look set for a great weekend's racing anyway. If I can, I'll be in touch next week with you. We're getting into it a bit now, aren't we? And I suspect after the John Deacon we might have a bet. We'll see. Okay, so if you got all this way, you know, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. All the best, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.